Hello Collective, this is Tan from Artemis Oracle doing your week ahead reading for June 16th through June 22nd. So let's see what messages come out for the collective that is for their highest and greatest good. Spirit, angels, guides. What messages does the collective need to know at this time that is for their highest and greatest good? What messages does the collective need to know at this time that is for their highest and greatest good? That's my chair. Let me make sure everything's just looking good. Okay, that's a bit of a glare. So let me just keep these cards aligned. Okay. Okay, let's see what the first card is. We have adjust, greed, shadow. Adjust, greed, and shadow. I think some of you are trying to make some changes this week. Trying to adjust something. Maybe you've been finding yourself to be a bit lazy, or maybe you've been putting a lot of attention towards things that haven't necessarily been to your benefit. Maybe you're working on some obsessions, some addictions that you are knowing has been a hindrance to you in some way, but I feel like you're trying to find some sort of balance. Maybe you're trying to accommodate something or someone. Maybe you're adapting to someone who has been greedy. Maybe you've been acting stupidly, foolishly, or you have been, because we have coexist there, the other side, coexist, reverse side, laziness, obsession, cruelty, stupidity, adapt, accommodate, compensate, balance. I feel like some of you are dealing with someone who maybe presenting themselves or projecting themselves in their shadow energy, and you're trying to adjust to whatever they are trying to project onto you. Maybe you're trying to maintain your peace, trying to maintain some sort of an equilibrium within yourself. Maybe you are someone who overthinks and you're trying to move away from these negative types of mindsets, and you're trying to look at things from a brighter perspective, because in the adjust card you see a lot of colors, a lot of technicolor things. Maybe some of you who are working with some substance issues, you may have been turning to certain substances to help bring you to a higher state of being, but in a false way, in a way that is not healthy, not conducive to you actually facing whatever shadow self that you are trying to move away from in some way. Let's see what this. It's your time, gamble, and say less. I feel like with adjust and it's your time, this may be an indication that it's time for you to start looking for ways to adjust certain behaviors that aren't conducive to yourself. Some behaviors that are basically keeping you stuck in a pattern, maybe not allowing you to ascend or to be enlightened in some way. Maybe you're being called to start a meditation practice, or maybe try to find some way of finding balance within your life, within your work, and even within a healing process. With this, it's like it's your time. I feel like it's saying that it's your time to take care of yourself. It's your time to make changes that you need. In some way, you may have to be adapting to certain situations, especially some that are unhealthy and may be triggering your shadow self. But it's time for you to find peace within, you know? You see the skeleton is sitting in a lotus position doing the like they're meditating. So maybe you're being called to meditate. Find some sort of meditative practice that can help you with adapting to some possible stress that you may be experiencing, especially if it's coming from an external source. Now with gamble and greed, some of you may have an issue with gambling or taking unnecessary risks. Maybe you have been taking stupid chances, taking stupid risks that are basically are not healthy in some way. Maybe in some way you're being very greedy, maybe looking at things from a me standpoint. Maybe you have been cruel to somebody else, or someone may have taken a chance and was cruel to you in some way. But what I'm seeing with the gamble and greed, some of you may have an issue with casinos, gambling, horse racing. I want to say there was something else I wanted to say, but it slipped my mind. It's a sort of gamble, a type of gambling. Oh, I forgot. It's not horse racing. It's some other thing. It's not dog racing, but that popped into my mind too. So that might resonate with you in some way. So maybe you've been withholding yourself, or maybe, you know, with the adjust and the greed card, this about could be asking for you to be greedy with yourself. Maybe you have been overextending yourself to people who have been greedy, who have been trying to take more from you, but not in turn reciprocating that. So maybe you're learning to put yourself first, protect yourself, because you see this skeleton is also like, there's a skeleton here, a skeleton here. There may be somebody who may be draining you in some way. It could be an energetic drain. They could be draining your resources. Maybe they've been acting stupidly towards you. Maybe they're lazy and not helping to bring some sort of balance in the situation. Maybe there's someone that's living with you and is not who isn't helping out with bills, who isn't bringing some type of compensation to you. Maybe they haven't been contributing to bills, groceries, and this has been maybe testing your patience in some way. So maybe this is your time to say something, because you see say less here. Maybe that's what you've been doing. Maybe you've been trying to keep the peace by saying less, but that's not really helping you in some way. Maybe your shadow self is someone who allows people to take advantage of you, and you tend to say less because you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to take unnecessary risks. You don't want to make somebody feel uncomfortable, but you're the one that's having to compensate with yourself, compensate with having to deal with someone who is greedy and not thinking about you, but constantly thinking about themselves. They may be selfish, maybe a freeloader in some way. You're going to have to take a risk. Take a risk. It's your time to say something. Maybe you've been saying less, but now it's time for you to say more. Let's see what's at the bottom of the deck. Work. And then we have heartbroken. Okay. So this could be a work situation. If you look at these cards itself, you may be dealing with someone who is very greedy, who operates in the shadows, but is really been testing you. Maybe you've been overwhelmed with work. Maybe you've been, so you see earning money. Maybe this person that may be living with you, or if it is a living situation, this person may have been freeloading off of you, or they may not be living with you, but they may be freeloading off of you. Maybe you're working hard and earning money, and then this person who's greedy, who's lazy, he doesn't want to do anything, is constantly asking you for money, you know. But then maybe you don't really say anything, and you just give them what they want. But it's like you don't say anything. You say less. It's like you indulge this person in some way. This could be a person that may have broken your heart in the past. Someone you never spoke up to because you never really wanted to rock the boat. You didn't want to take the chance and say something because, you know, maybe this person has been cruel to you in some way. You know, whenever you spoke up, whenever you tried to defend yourself, maybe you became what do you call it, when you adapted to however this person is, but you really never took care of yourself. Maybe in some way you were doing everything you could to possibly please this person if it is a romantic relationship. But right now you're finding yourself, you may be finding yourself trying to find peace. Maybe your peace is starting to become disturbed. Maybe it's your time to move away from the situation, take a risk, and find peace on your own. Maybe, I mean, this could go any way. This could go any way. Excuse me. Okay. Now I'm going to pull 3 cards from the Love Oracle deck. Because if this is a love situation, I mean, maybe you're in a work situation that is heartbreaking for you. Maybe this, you know, you're doing everything you can and you feel like you're not being seen, and you're possibly wanting to take a risk and go towards something else. Maybe this is your time to leave. It's your time to take a chance on yourself. Maybe do so in a way where you're not making a big hoopla about it. You're doing this in silence. You're not really telling people. You may be keeping it a secret in some way. I think with the heartbroken, you may be discouraged in some point. Broken, shattered, heartbroken, destroyed. That card came out. So this is something that is in a way breaking you. It's hurting you. If it's a love situation, it's something that really shattered you. Shattered your hopes, your dreams, possibly. Or maybe it was destructive to you in some way. Foundation. It kind of is weakening your foundation, you know. Yeah, I see the foundation, established, security, family. So it could be a family dynamic. Maybe you have someone in your family living with you when they're not contributing to the household. You know, maybe you're doing all the work, but they're just staying at home, watching TV and eating bonbons, doing a Peggy Bundy while you're doing all the hard work, and they're just being a lazy bum. I'm sorry. So maybe that resonates. Some of you probably do feel like this person is a lazy bum. I feel like that you are trying to find some light at the end of the tunnel with this situation, especially with adjusting the hoping. You know, you're trying to adapt to the situation, but it's like you've done as much adapting as you can, and it's hurting you. It's disrupting you. It's weakening your foundation. It may be weakening your hope, especially if it's a love situation, you know, where it's left you heartbroken. But I feel like with the turmoil, trouble, unexpected, there may be something happening that's going to cause some sort of change in the situation. Look at curse. Oh my gosh. I went to show this card to you and it flew out. Curse, hex, witchcraft, negative mind. Maybe this has put you in a negative mindset. Escaping, avoiding, blocking, pushing away. And maybe has you in a negative mindset. And sometimes you may be not saying anything by saying less. But a part of you wants to escape. You want to run away from the situation. See, and all these cards, escape, running, withdrawn, you know, chemistry. That's something different, you know. So maybe if this is related, the chemistry card, maybe this is someone that you thought you had a lot of chemistry with, but then it ended up being something that was a curse. Something that you're like, oh my God, what the fuck did I get myself into? You want to run away. You want to get away from the situation. You're possibly considering ghosting, you know, if this isn't a living situation, but you're just dealing with someone who's on the shadow energy, and you're taking a risk of just walking away, escaping, ghosting, just disappearing from and withdrawing, you know, possibly being on your own. And, you know, because you're no longer happy, you're no longer lying to yourself about something. Of emotional storm. I want to say stern. I don't know. An emotional storm, turmoil, unstable and affected. You know, this has caused you some emotional. It's just affected you emotionally, you know. It has left you feeling unstable, especially within your foundation. Because remember, we are our own foundation. You know, our external environment is a source of foundation too, but we find stability and security within ourselves. And I feel like if this is a situation that's external, it could have affected you internally as well, you know. You may be thinking about the past, thinking about past memories, how things were good, but you're quickly realizing this is a situation that isn't helpful or something to be hopeful about. Maybe you were hopeful that things will get better, but in turn, it's just like things just got worse. You know, maybe you're hoping that there'll be some sort of reprieve, maybe that there's an opportunity for you to escape this situation, for you to break the curse. You may be a masculine energy, or maybe you have to pull on your masculine energy to do this. You know, masculine energies don't work on emotions. They work on facts. They work on logic. They work on action. So maybe you need to work on your masculine energy and learn how to take certain steps, because masculine energies, they're not all talk, you know. It's all about say less and do more. So maybe this is what you need to do. Say less and do more, you know? Commitment. Some of you may be in this situation and you are married, so you may feel like you're stuck in this situation, and the only way for you to leave it is if you maybe you feel indebted to this person. Maybe you feel like you have to keep some sort of promise to them. Let me check. Just want to make sure everything is showing. Okay. So maybe you feel like you have to keep some sort of promise to this person, but you're hurting yourself. You know, you're committing yourself to heartbreak. Past life. Yeah, you possibly are repeating patterns in a relationship or this dynamic. If it isn't a love relationship, it could be a work relationship. Maybe you find yourself in similar situations, but in different locations, or even with different people. It's your time to break the curse. It's your time to take a risk on yourself and move away from a situation, but do so in silence. You need to heal. You need to cleanse yourself of this. With the spiritual bath showing up. Let's see what's under here. Unfinished business. Yeah, maybe you feel like you can't move away because there's something that's keeping you stuck. It's baggage that's keeping you way down. And you may need to release that baggage. Hollow. We got divine feminine intuition. If you are a feminine energy, I feel like you need to follow your intuition, you know, because whatever situation you're in is keeping you feeling hollow and empty and bored. You're unsatisfied. You're remaining stagnant, you know, with obscurity, nourished. That's about self-care one day, you know, obscurity and shadow. Secret mysteries concealing, you know, maybe you're hiding the fact that you're dissatisfied in the situation, and you may be doing things to like internally find the peace, or maybe you're considering doing things to help you find peace. But if you stay in a situation that isn't healthy for you, you're going to be hurting yourself. You are not doing self-care. You're depriving yourself of self-growth. You need to focus on yourself. You need to focus on what matters to you, and not so much trying to satisfy somebody or even deal with people who are greedy. You know, if your intuition is nudging you to move away from a situation, please take this message as it resonates. Then you have to do what's right for you, because your health, your sanity, your happiness, your light is at stake when it comes to this. Sing. You have to listen to your heart. Whistleblower. I like this because I say less. Maybe you do have to speak up for yourself. You have to put somebody on blast and like expose them to themselves. You have to let them know what they're doing wrong, how they're harming you, you know. I think you have to work on committing to yourself, to your well-being. Like I said, the masculine energy is about action, not about speaking. It's not about hearts and love, and no, it's about like taking the necessary steps, taking the necessary actions. You know, with the sword here, this is about, it reminds me of the Queen of Swords. It reminds me of the King of Swords. It's about honesty. It's about integrity. It's about honesty, integrity. It's about truth. It's about balance. It's about fairness. You should not bow down to somebody. If you bow down to somebody, it's for respect, not because they're trying to bring you down. I feel like that's the message for the week ahead. It's a lot, so this is something to think about. This message may not resonate with everybody, so please take the messages that do resonate with you and leave the rest. This is Tan, your reader from Artemis Oracle, wishing you a great week ahead. Bye.